Hello again, we've got another video for you out here in the shed. This thing, I don't really know what to call it because it calls itself a mini cleaver, which it is, but it's kind of like a cross between a knife and a cleaver, if you like. I suppose technically a cleaver is a knife, although it says it's a hatchet, and a couple other people also refer it to a hatchet, which is definitely not, so bit of a funny one. Anyway, Marbles Mini Hatchet. So, to begin with, this came from Heine Haynes, and I think it was around £13. My girlfriend gave me this as a gift, as she does. Bit of an interesting one. I could swear when I saw it on Heine Haynes for the first time, I swear it came with a neck sheath, like a Kydex sheath for hanging around your neck. But this is how it came, and then when I checked back later on Heine, it didn't say anything about a sheath, so I don't know what the hell happened there, if that was just my imagination or if they removed it or what. But this is literally just how it came. Obviously it came in an envelope with bubble wrap, as they usually do. But it came with this little cardboard sleeve which says on it, warning, some products may contain a chemical known to the state of California to cause cancer or reproductive harm. So I guess since I'm not in the state of California, I'll be fine. Yeah, I do realise that it is just the state of California that recognises it or something, or so my brother pointed out to me. I still find that vaguely amusing though. That's it though, it's just a really cheesy attempt at a sheath. I'm guessing this is just a throwaway thing. But anyway, here it is. This is the Marbles Mini Hatchet. Now for 13 quid, it's an alright lump of steel. But really that's all it is, just a lump of steel. There's nothing to it. I don't remember what kind of steel it is, or even if it is listed, even if they have listed what kind of steel it is, but I'm just going to assume some sort of, well, it's going to be a cheap Chinese steel, isn't it? Probably the equivalent of 440 or something like that. Really, what we've got here is essentially just a chunk of metal in the shape of a hatchet with a grind. I suppose that's all blades are to begin with, though, weren't they? So I'll just give you a close-up and I'll tell you what I think, as I usually do. So here it is, the Marbles Mini Hatchet. The handle's a decent size. It's one thickness throughout, essentially, other than the grind. We've got a hole like most hatchets usually have. I guess that's just for hanging them up traditionally, I don't know. And the only real marking on it is, let's see if I get it to focus. Just there, the Marbles logo right there. Not very well finished. You can see all the machining marks. You can see the marks along the spine where they've cut it out. It almost looks like they've cut it out on a bandsaw or something. So there's that. The edges are. I'll tell you what. I'll squeeze it and I'll tell you what I think. I mean, it's not too bad. It's bearable. I don't think you would want to use this as a work knife. To be really honest, I think this is more of a novelty than anything. But we will test it out to see if it's actually functional. Now the grind. I mean, to me it looks Scandi. Honestly, if you look, I mean, here we are. It looks basically just the exact same as a Mora. So I'm just going to call it Scandi. I'm sure Heine Haynes probably has it listed as something else, and Marbles themselves are probably listing the grind as something else. But for me, that's just maybe convex, now that I look at it in the camera. Anyway. And it's not very consistent. Is that an issue? No, not really. £13 for something that's okay. And to be honest, I think this thing has potential. Now, we've got this. You can see how the colour is completely different from the actual grind. It's supposed to look like it's been forged. Obviously, this is not actually forged steel. This, I think, is. This actually is a hatchet. This is the Hollifer's Bushcraft Axe. I think that's what it's called. I'll just compare the blades so you can get a better idea what we're dealing with here, because a lot of you are probably more used to actual axes over something like this. Now, if you want it for chopping, I suppose you could possibly chop small things, but if you want to actually chop, you need a proper axe or a proper hatchet. I mean, if you were to compare a proper axe like this and the Marbles mini hatchet, the mini hatchet's a gimmick. In fact, one of you, when I did my channel announcements, one of you asked to actually see this, and I was planning on doing a video anyway. You were wondering if it's actually practical or just a gimmick. Somewhere in between in my estimation. I've never actually tried it out, but I've never, again, I prefer to collect things than actually use them. In the real world, there's not really any practical use for this. It's a knife like any other. And I know that's probably a terrible thing for a knife person to be saying, but I'm just going to be honest. I mean, you wouldn't use this as your main go-to knife. In fact, here's something just for fun. Let's see if it'll stick into this piece of MDF. No, not heavy enough. But let's test out the blade anyway. Now, usually I wouldn't do this on these videos, but let's see if it's any good. This is a piece of pine, which is a softwood. Now, that's not too discomforting. It's a bit awkward. Now, let's just see if we could do this. No. Now, that is still the factory edge. It's not very sharp at all, really. Like I said, the grind is not even in the slightest. But it is ground similar, in a similar way to a proper axe, I would say. In fact, the grind on this to me reminds me of the grinds on the Gransfors bricks axes. But that's just me. Now that said, because that grind is so simple and it is so large and it's like an axe, that would be extremely easy to sharpen. I mean, put that on a stone, right? And well, as they say, the Scandinavian grind is the easiest to sharpen, and I happen to agree. For that reason, it's one of my favourite grinds. And from the moment I saw this thing, I thought, yeah, that's going to be really easy to sharpen. Now, I've not done it yet. I do intend to do it in the future, and I would imagine it'd be quite easy to sharpen it with a file. But if you do that, you're going to lose material quite quick, especially with the steel being presumably quite soft. We do have a paracord lanyard that came with the knife, with a cleaver, whatever the hell you want to call it. In terms of using it as in the kitchen, using it in a campsite for food, I don't actually see why not. I mean, it's not going to replace your kitchen knives, it's not going to replace a full-size cleaver, and it's certainly not going to replace something like this. So you may as well get that idea right out of your head, to be really honest. If anyone did have that idea, like I said, this is somewhere between an axe and a hatchet. It's obviously not a really small hand hatchet, nor is it a full-size felling axe, if you get what I'm saying. And again, this comes to me, this is more of a gimmick, but again, it can be practical. Now, I did have a piece of lime somewhere, a different species of wood, that I also wanted to try it on, but I seem to have misplaced it. Well, that was silly now, wasn't it? Well, anyway, lime's a hardwood, and if I struggled with this piece of pine, I don't see what chance it has with a hardwood. Then again, lime is a fairly soft hardwood anyway. Now, if you sharpened it, I think that would have a lot more potential. Should we try chopping with it, you think? Give me a second, I've got gloves just at the other side there. I've made the mistake of holding a piece of wood and chopping it with that Halterfors axe. I don't really feel like doing that again because I actually did hit my thumb. There's a knot there, so that wouldn't be very fair. Let's do it there. Let's see if this thing actually does have any chopping potential. Okay. And you see how I missed it the first time? That's what I did when I hit myself in the thumb. Does it have any, I mean, also look where I'm holding it. So I guess this is one of those instances, can't speak, one of those instances where the lanyard is actually useful. But it is a bit uncomfortable due to those corners. Practical, maybe not. Fun, yes. So again, to me, that's where this falls. Have any of you seen my video? I think I released it 2 years ago on. It was another marbles product. It had a very small axe head, about that sort of size. I think it was called the Marbles Pocket Hatchet or something. It had a clip point blade and had the small axe head. To me, this falls in the same category of that. I bought that thinking I was going to EDC it because it does actually fall within UK specs. It's under the inches and it's non-locking. I thought I was going to carry it because it's quite cool, and it is still quite cool, but it's honestly useless. I still don't know what to do with it, and I've had that thing for about 4 or 5 years. But you can see what this thing can do. Maybe I should try that with that other folding version. What do you think? Let me know if you're curious to see that. Actually, the little folding one is kind of like a traditional knife, except it's got an axe on it, which is strange. You can still get those on Heine as well if you're interested. They're only about, God, I think they're somewhere between £15 and £20. Again, made in China, unfortunately. Come on, just as a short comparison. So you can see a proper axe does a much better job. But that should go without saying. I mean, a proper axe has a lot more weight to it and has a much longer handle. So that should be fairly obvious. Now, some final thoughts on this thing. Where might this actually shine? As I said, this thing's only about £15, thereabouts. Well, really, in the knife world, £15 isn't a lot of money. And especially if you're a person that spends £100 on knives. I am not that person. I do have some knives at that money, at that sort of price, but I keep those hidden away, to be honest. I don't ever use or carry them because to me £100 is a lot of money for a knife. I probably shouldn't have done that because I did say it was brittle, but this is MDF. I mean, if you were to drop this on another hard surface such as concrete, I could see it breaking in half. It's brittle. It's kind of like a woodworking plane. If I mean, woodworkers already know this, but if you were to drop a woodworking plane, something like this, it's gonna usually they break around here. I could see a similar thing happening with this. Probably around here, that being the weakest point, right there. Now, I was going to say there, where this has potential is for modifications. Being £15 is really not an awful lot of money in the knife world. The most simplest mod you could do to this thing is just to make it more comfortable for yourself, and that is just to file the edges to make it more comfortable, just to round it over. And that would just be a 5-10 minute job at the most. Just clamp it in a vise and file it. Simple. Or you could use a Dremel or a power sander, or you know, that sort of thing. I wouldn't use an angle grinder. I think that'd be a bit too aggressive. Suppose you could if you really wanted to, but by and large, a file or even a piece of sandpaper, that's something I've considered doing, but I really don't like modifying things, believe it or not. And the other thing that I'm thinking is, well, it's just a lump of steel, there's no handle on it. I actually thought about getting another couple of these and putting handles on them. Whether or not I actually do that's another thing, probably not, to be honest. But I mean, picture this, the exact same knife, and you were to put a small, you know, a reasonable wooden handle out of, I don't know, beech or oak or something on this piece of wood, or even G10 or whatever your material of choice would be, and maybe put the handle to about there. I think that would actually look quite nice, and it wouldn't be a difficult thing to do. Just drill another couple of holes, put your handle on, pin it, glue it, file it off, that sort of thing. It could probably look pretty nice, especially if it had a nice mirror polished edge. Well, anyway, that pretty much concludes my thoughts on the Marbles Mini Hatchet. Thanks for watching. Please do let me know your thoughts in the comments. And in closing, I've started a Facebook group if anyone wants to join. It's just the exact same idea as the channel, same username, Scotsman762. Feel free to come along and share pictures of your EDC knives, your multi-tools, your knife collection, you know, your Zippo collection, that sort of thing. If you see it on the channel, it's more than welcome on the group, so I do invite you to come and join me there. Thanks for watching.